this up, you can definitely tell that you could definitely tell that it's fight week, dude. You guys are starting to moan and cry so much more. It's not even funny, dude. Let me tell you just how crazy this is. And I've been calling this out on the buildup of this fight, but the blame shifting is like the funniest part, where you guys start to project on the Bud and superimpose attributes that are Canelo's, but now it's Bud that you're projecting this stuff on. I'll give you a few examples. And these are big channels like IBHP and some of these black content creators that are kind of grifting on the anti-Bud movement. They get a lot of clicks and views for just hating on Bud and acting like they're going for Canelo. But, they're all coming out with these videos today, and you'll see it. Is Canelo going to get robbed? Do you understand? So not only is Bud the prime suspect for doping, cheating with PEDs, you understand? Although you guys have done some pretty funny stuff with that. You got your hopes up with like fake pictures of Bud looking fat and whatever to kind of, cope with reality. You understand? But, Bud's the prime suspect in doping PEDs, and he's also now the guy who has politics and judging on his side. We could go into the double standards, even more crazy with what's going on with this fight, but it just lets me know you guys are really shook. You guys are really insecure right now, and we can all see it. I mean, you can't hide it at this point. After the Skull fight, same channels that I just mentioned, these dudes, they were crying. Canelo is shook. He's shot. Sorry. He is shook, by the way. You could see that in the pressers. When he tried to make fun of Bud's resume, and Bud's like, are you going to be a nobody? We saw plenty of the evidence, and of course I posted this stuff on my channel with receipts. Again, I'm here getting called a racist and everything else, which is typically the case, guys. You're not the only ones that do this. I know my content's kind of emotionally offensive for a lot of you. There's been some very weird interactions with some of you. It's just been weird, but it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But, when you start to see this, again, blame shifting, how is it that Bud, again, this is a guy who ain't fought nobody and can't sell and whatever else has been said, since the beginning, when you guys finally start paying attention to this guy's career, now he's all of a sudden the guy that has, the politics on his side and the judging. Do you guys see how far you go to try to cope with reality? Do you see how crazy you guys are going right now? You know what I'm saying? And for me, it's just laughable talking about this stuff. You guys will sit here, you'll write me pages about Triple G, okay? Golovkin, who was a bum who didn't fight nobody. He wasn't a bum, but if you're going to come with something, you got to be consistent in all areas with your argument. So if Bud is not who you guys say he is, he's the one that's propped it up in a hype job. And then you're trying to use Triple G to validate this point and why Canelo's going to win. Again, Bud's resume, his head and the accolades and accomplishments and everything else is head, shoulders, and toes above Triple G. Crawford's worst failure towers over any triumph that Triple G has done in his career. But I keep trying to tell you guys, I did this with the Spence fans and everybody else. You understand? When you try to denigrate and cancel out what someone's accomplished in the sport and whatever else, there's no buddy system in boxing. Triple G, I hate Triple G, the name, you know what I'm saying? I call him GGG simply because to me he's lowercase GGG. But some of you came in and said you don't like me saying GGG. Look, the guy was a media creation himself. His resume was padded. He avoided all risks, and he just tried to simply get a payday off of Canelo. The same thing you guys will say about Demetrius, Andrade, and whatever fighters. And this is what I'm saying. Your standards are not consistent. If Triple G was fine, if Golovkin was fine, you understand? If he was fine with his trash resume and the people that he fought, Gil, Macklin, you know what I'm saying? I remember when he finally, when he started stepping up a little bit in competition, how he wasn't getting knockouts anymore. It's very much like Berlanga, who got like 16 straight first-round knockouts when they were feeding him bums. It was the same thing with Triple G. He starts stepping up, and you could clearly see he just was not as advertised. This has always been my standard for you guys that claim that my videos are racially motivated. Merit is my standard. Merit is my racism on this channel. And Golovkin, again, you go and you look at his resume, and I even gotten a few of you guys finally admit the dude has a trash resume. But again, who's he beaten? What has he done? How many champions has he faced? How many undefeated fighters has he faced? You know what I'm saying? This is a guy they propped up as trying to beat Bernard Hopkins' record. And both guys, you can find some asterisks with, B-Hop's record as well. I'm not going to lie about that. If you do your research, I'm a guy that likes to do my research. But again, even the way they tried to prop this dude's up with the Reggie Belt title defenses, dude, which was so pathetic. Like, I don't understand how you guys get up and cheerlead for guys like this. But, I just come from a different era from a lot of you, and I know a lot of you are new to this channel. You haven't followed the boxing content when I've covered other fight sagas. And again, I did delete a bunch of my content at one point. I was going through court and things like that. So, I had to make sure that my social media and things like that were scrubbed. But on Odyssey, it still has a lot of my old content, my covering the Teofimo Lopez versus Lomachenko fights, for example. You'll see that I keep it pretty consistent. I'm pretty accurate on these predictions. But I do understand it from your viewpoint. But you guys have tried to make this a race of who's the biggest victim. And on this channel, I don't give into victimhood. I really don't. I find it to be pathetic. Not saying that I'm this strong, brave, courageous man. I've gone through my trials and tribulations and whatever else. You know what I'm saying? But again, now we have to superimpose and blame shift and project onto Bud what your fighter is more guilty of. I have some of you trying to argue with me about pound for pound. Well, if you're draining fighters and putting rehydration clauses, even on guys like Rocky Fielding and even like a Cesar Chavez Jr., when I look at that and it's a consistent thing, again, you guys will call this type of stuff out on Tank Davis. He's known for doing the same. They modeled their career just like Canelo, Tank Davis. You understand? You got these Canelo weights. I show you a Larry Mosley. The fight was at 148 pounds. What's wrong with making 147? Well, we saw how he gassed out in that fight, even against a no-hoper. So obviously this has always been consistency. But the consistency, what I've always seen with Canelo is you're not a true confident, true pound-for-pound fighter. And I've tried to back this up with receipts and everything else. But this is just a small little video to tell you guys, I know you're shook and you're insecure. I look at the betting odds. They've dropped again. Last I checked them 2 days ago, they were like at 200. Now they're down to 192. Minus 192 Canelo favorite. And again, the fact that these are the boxing odds for this fight, you guys are not putting your money on Canelo as well. This is something not to just overlook, little details like this that I know you guys don't even really look into. Triple G, for example, when he fought Danny Jacobs, his first real test, you understand, he was like a minus, I think he was like a plus or a minus 850. And I was trying to tell people this is more of a 50-50 fight. I've been through this battle so many times, and it was. You look at that fight when they announced Triple G as a winner, you'll see that he thought he lost in his mind. You can see he was not confident at all. But he always had excuses after even wins, like Willie Monroe Jr. Oh, those shots don't hurt. They're just tink-tinks. Even against my old boy dude, man, I done forgot, dude, that he fought in Brazil. He claimed that his luggage was stolen and he had the flu or something like that, even after that performance. And this is when he was like 28, you understand? It's not Indom. I forgot the old boy's name. He fought Jermaine Taylor. See, I'm at the point now where I forget these dudes' names. This is where I'm at. And you guys are here and you just know what the TV's told you about guys like Triple G and Canelo Alvarez. This is another thing, too. Boxing has tried to create this anti-American dialectic when it comes to sport of boxing. And I've tried to tell you guys this. When they were globalizing the market, the sport, what do you have to do to try to build up another market when we all know that, the mecca of boxing is American, and it's the black American fighter that is the most dominant overall. And I tried to tell you guys this. It's the same process when they, in Hollywood, how they cancel out now white male lead actors, and they're now trying to replace them with feminist, progressive type propaganda and things like that. Men in general, men are now stupid and weak. They're more feminine today, and the women are the more masculine, competent people when you watch these movies. It's the same thing in boxing. You guys, I know a lot of you are pretty moist when we do want to discuss race, especially in a productive conversation, opposed to you guys just being little racist beta males. It is what it is, but it's the same process, guys. They've tried this type of thing. It's not just boxing that's been affected with these type of tactics and things like that. And it's always a problem when, black people finally start cheerleading their own kind, especially in sports, especially in boxing. It's such a big deal, and it just triggers you guys even more. And I'm here getting called the racist today when it's really you guys. It's the same projection. It's the same stuff that you guys are doing on Bud. I'm not here to be in a competition with you on who is the greatest victim in this story. I don't see myself as a victim. Even if I am victimized, I'm not going to claim victimhood. And this is not me trying to boast myself again, like I'm John Rambo and I can take on a one-man army and, toxic masculine. I'm just telling you how it is, just through life and everything that I've experienced. I'm not like you guys. I don't operate like you guys. I don't judge these fights off of my feelings, emotions. And again, you all claim the same things that all the others have claimed. I'm one-sided, this and that, but you'll come to see that my predictions are pretty accurate. But you guys are definitely showing just how shook and insecure you are, man. And it's getting laughable at this point now that we're in fight week. I can definitely feel a shift. I can see a shift in the comments. They're getting more emotional and things like that. You know what I'm saying? Popularity contests, again, and buddy systems do not work in boxing. I've had to tell the Spence fans this and other fan bases this. Just because Spence fought Sean Porter and Danny Garcia and Brooke fought GGG and whoever else, you know what I'm saying? That stuff, it's not a buddy system, guys. Canelo's going to be the only guy in that ring. Caleb Plant and Colin Smith and Billy Joe Sanders are not going to be in that ring with Canelo Alvarez. And those guys, just like Sean Porter and everybody else didn't prepare Spence, that you guys also said had a better resume. For Terrence Bud Crawford, it ended up being one of Bud's easiest fights. Triple G and all these other clowns, especially media creations like Triple G. Bud's not a media creation, guys. The boardroom did not give him the red carpet treatment. Danny Garcia was a fighter who got red carpet treatment. A lot of you don't even do your research and know too much into this stuff. You don't really know how this works. But Canelo was drafted in a boardroom. You know what I'm saying? Bud was not drafted in a boardroom. Bud was kicked off, even being a high-ranked amateur, he was kicked off the Olympian team for Gary Russell Jr. Bud always triggered people, and it's because Bud was the real deal. You know what I'm saying? And this is kind of the real point why you guys find a guy like Bud so offensive. It's even beyond race, to be honest with you. But I've said this time and time again, and I keep beating the same dead horse. But the truth is really the most offensive thing on this earth. And it's something that this earth is trying to cancel out. It wants you to go into AI. Many people are confused today. They can't even understand that if they got a pair of balls, and a penis in between their legs, they still believe that they're the opposite. This is how crazy the world is today. You're seeing, if you guys do any research on this, people are having a hard time even determining what is real today. There's a lot of confusion in the world today. And that is by design, and that is for a reason. It's intentional while they're shifting this culture. Even when it comes to our food, you're going to see where they put a lot of additives, things like that, preservatives. You're not even, in some of these cases, like you go to Taco Bell, you're not even eating real meat today. Everything's artificial today. And Canelo's a guy, and I've said this from the beginning, the machine likes a guy like Canelo more. You understand? Canelo is Ice Spice. He's an industry plant. He's who the suits at the end of the day want you to cheerlead and want you to support. You understand? Bud is a guy that throws a kink into that. Bud is a guy who didn't need the assistance of judging. Although, you guys are all shook today that he's going to rob Canelo, by decision, when we know that historically this is nowhere near the case. And we know who relies on that type of stuff. But this is how far you guys have gone at this point. We're 5 days away, and it's just getting worse for you guys. You're starting to unravel even more. And I always find this process to be funny. I watch the Manny Pacquiao fans go through this process. A I've watched the Spence fans go through this. I watched the Lomachenko fans. I watched the Deontay Wilder fans go through this process. The Tank Davis fans, they weren't really ready for that shock that happened to him, you know. And this guy, he's just, I don't know. He got the Jake Paul fight, but again, the machine tends to like fighters that they can control and that they can dictate the narrative and everything else. And that has been Canelo Alvarez. This is why I call Bud the man of clay and I call your guy the synthetic man. You understand? The machine wants Canelo to win. You guys, being the rats that you are, know what time it is because, you know, rats can tell when the ship's about to sink. So the rat, you know, them survival instincts and everything else come in and, you know, they can navigate through ships in ways that, you know, even people that built the ships didn't even know how you could navigate out of them. You understand? While that ship is sinking. And you guys, you're feeling this ominous feeling. You know what time is coming. You know what's approaching. You understand? You're starting to get more emotional. You're starting to get more crazy. You're getting more desperate. You're doing your best to try to save face one moment, but then you're showing how insecure you are the next moment. You know, I done seen this process too many times. Nothing new. What you guys are doing is something I've never experienced or had to deal with before. And I'm just going to tell you flat out again, your numbers don't count for nothing. Your crying doesn't count for nothing. Your emotional little Punjabs don't count for nothing. September 13th, Terrence Crawford is going to be victorious, however way that's going to be. You know what I'm saying? I gave my prediction a year ago. I just recently changed it to 11th round stoppage because I believe there's a high probability this is going to occur. There's been reasons why they're not showing Canelo's training. They're showing you him modeling suits and buying watches. I just saw another new watch thing today. You know, he bought a Godfather watch. You know what I'm saying? Canelo, you know, this charade, this little dialectic, especially that needs Triple G to validate itself, that dialectic is going to be killed. It's the same process that's happening to Hollywood right now, where they invested so much into this feminist LGBTQ propaganda, and they see that they're not really gaining profit or anything off of it anymore. This same destruction, the same process is going on with Canelo Alvarez. You guys, for the most part, are just like feminists to me at the end of the day. You want your cake and you want to have it too. You don't want any accountability. You're not even in reality. You have double standards. Again, this is why you got to make Canelo the victim today. You know what I'm saying? And you got to make Bud, you know, the villain. You know, you got to demonize him. When we all know who the real bad guy is, we all know who the real drug cheat is. We all know who the real cheater is. We all know who the guy who really needs judging, all that. You guys got to do better than this, okay? We got 5 days left, you know. I try to be calm and cool with you guys, but at the end of the day, I am not your emotional punching bag. You know, a lot of you, I can tell, were raised by single mothers. You know, your mom used you as, you know, a punching bag for her emotions when she kept jumping from man to man. I know how this process goes. A lot of you are the same way. And it's hard to deal with the fact that when you find out that your idol, you know, that your folklore hero is not necessarily, you know, who you thought he is, especially when a guy like me showing you receipts. You know, I'm bringing up stats like how Munguia landed 170 punches on Canelo. And you guys still act like Bud just, you know, he robbed Madrimov and he got so beat up in that fight when he only... Dude didn't even land 100 punches on Bud, guys. I don't know what to tell you. They did block my film study for the Madrimov fight, but again, those film studies can all be easily accessed, and those videos are still up on my channel, you know. But again, guys, you're really showing yourself here. You're really, with your projection and, you know, your insecurities, everything else, it's really just exposing you at the end of the day. And personally, again, none of you are really betting your money on Canelo. We all know what time is coming, guys. It's going to be a good fight. Canelo's going to try to play poker face for as long as he can until Bud finally, again, shows everybody what a true pound-for-pound fighter is that didn't need rehydration clauses, non-disclosure agreements, and, you know, draining fighters, fighting at these weird weights, making Amir Khan move up to 155 pounds, you know, all this nonsense that this guy did. I can't remember where he fought Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. because he weight trained him as well. And that dude looked dead in that ring. It was so sad to see him trying to fight while he's all drained. But it was like at some weird weight too. Again, even where you're not even allowing guys to get full training camps like a Colin Smith. Canelo's not a confident fighter, guys. He's a guy who's always needed to be propped up. He's a guy who's needed the most assistance. Bud Crawford is the boogeyman, of course, in this story. What do they call Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers and all those guys? I think they call them psychopaths or maniacs, you know, and you got Freddy Krueger and you even got Chucky thrown in there. Well, you know, the guy that you met, he's really Chucky. You understand? Bud is his own character. He's, you know, it's not that you can put Bud with greats, you know, like Floyd Mayweather's and, you know, whoever else, Sugar Ray Leonard's. Although I believe like a guy like Sugar Ray Leonard would beat Terrence Bud Crawford. You know, I'm not a guy who's really too sold on this new school era because it's watered down. But, you know, just like Bud along, you know, deserves to be named amongst the greats. You understand? Bud is the guy that's the trailblazer. He's the guy that's setting the standards. He's the guy that's causing new trends, you know, undisputed after 12, 13 years, however long it was during that gap. And then he's the guy that gets 2, and now he's going to be the guy that gets 3. You know, it's not just that he deserves to be with the greats in boxing. I'm telling you, this dude deserves to be with the Pinheads. He deserves to be with the Michael Myers. He deserves to be with the Jason. Because Bud's a psychopath, guys. You understand? Your dude, if we're going to, you know, put him in that category, he's Chucky, okay? Bud Crawford, again, he's his own character when it comes to that. I'm telling you guys, get ready for September 13th. And I'm going to continue to make these videos, you know, for as long as I can. I will talk to you guys later. Bye.